it's Minnick from Boxcar Marketing, and we're going to walk through setting up a Search Console report, which will help you diagnose loss of search traffic that you might have seen due to some of the Google core updates. To create this report, you need a Google account so that you can use LookerStudio.google.com, and ideally, it's the same account you use to log into your Google Analytics. And you have a Google Search Console account, which is set up in tracking your search data. Some people do not have this already set up. So you're going to start by going to search.google.com, logged in. Make sure that you can see your website in the Search Console. And if you can't, then there is in a drop-down menu a little plus sign where you can add a property. And ideally, you want to add this at a domain level. There'll be instructions that prompt you through. Or if you need to set this up using a URL, just make sure that you copy and paste exactly how your website is set up. So if it's HTTPS, that's different than HTTP. If there's www or not, all of that is important to make sure that that's what you set up if you're adding a property to Search Console. But let's assume you have all of these pieces of the puzzle together. So in LookerStudio, there are a series of templates that you can start with, or you can start fresh, but we're going to use this Search Console report. And when it loads blank, because the first step is to use your own data. You're going to replace what's here with your own information. You'll notice there are two different types of Search Console data. There's site and there's URL. That's important, so we need to remember that. We're going to start with site, and we're going to replace it with the Boxcar Marketing site. So we're looking for Boxcar, and I had at some point several different variations, but you'll remember my website is HTTPS www, and neither of these options work. But I have set up Boxcar Marketing at the domain level. So if you see something random here, I would always pick domain. And ideally, you have, in fact, a Search Console report that maps to the way that your website appears in search. So I'm going to pick this. Here's where we have those two choices. I want to replace site, impression, and web. So not image search or video or news, I want web. And I'm going to click add. And the reports that are using the site data are going to start to appear. And then I am going to, so that one has a nice check. This one is the URL. I'm going to replace my data again here. Picking domain, but this time I'm picking URL impression, and again I want web. So my website, most of the search traffic comes from the web, not image search or news search. Some people are going to have a lot of traffic actually from Google Discover or Google News. So these search types might be important to you based on your site, but I'm going to show you the simple one based on web. So we have used our own data in there now, and we have something that's not appearing here, but we're going to edit this. So it has our data in it, but we want to edit and share. And LookerStudio is sometimes a little bit slow. So when I clicked edit and share, it's made a copy of that report. So I'm gonna edit this report, and I'm going to put BX because that's the abbreviation I use for all of my personal reports, but you might want to put your URL here so that you don't get confused. Now we're in this edit mode of LookerStudio. This is a dashboard tool. It allows you to create these boxes and move things around. So I'm going to check out what is happening here. There's missing dimensions. So for some reason, the URL, the click-through rate is missing. So I'm just going to try adding it again and see if that updates anything. It doesn't. That's super weird. Because I have URL click-through rate appearing here nicely. So let's just say we don't really know what's happening there. Now, this report here isn't exactly what we want. We want to highlight it and copy it. So on my keyboard, I just did copy. You can go to edit and copy. What we want to do is add a page, and we can rename this page if we want, but I'm just going to leave it as is. And I'm going to paste that report, and I'm going to resize it in a second. I'm going to come back to page 1, and I really want this filter for the date range. So I'm going to make that report level. That means it's now going to appear on that second page I created. And if I like the filter box, I'm going to highlight these elements, and I can make them report level along with this title. Then all of that information is going to flow over to my next page. But for right now, I don't care about making a pretty report. I just care about pulling out the data. And what I want to be able to do is manipulate the date range on this data. So I've grabbed the corner of my box, I've made it bigger. And what I want to do is add some more pieces of information here. So I don't want to know just the landing page. I want to know the queries, the search queries that brought people to that landing page. Because what I'm interested in is diagnosing loss of search traffic. There were 3 Google Core updates last year, March, July, and December. And the majority of traffic loss people saw were around those 3 updates. So what you would do to diagnose a loss of traffic is a week after the update, you would look at that week of traffic versus the week before the core update. So Google has a list of updates, which you can find on their site. And we can see these core updates that happened in 2025 and the duration of them. So we know that this core update, sort of the rollout was complete as of December 29th. So in our report, we might want to look at, let's see, December 29th was that rollout. So a week later, 5th of January, but maybe we want to look at our mid-January numbers. So just say, actually the 11th, we'll start on the Sunday and we'll end on the Saturday, and we'll hit apply. It's going to change the date range of what's appearing in this graph. And if we select this chart is using auto, it says last 28 days, but it's using this date range that we set. And we want to compare that to, we know that it was completed here and it was 18 days. So I'm going to go back to the 7th of December to the 13th. Now, this is a bit tricky because many sites have seasonal traffic, and what's happening on your site at the beginning of December versus what's happening on the site mid-January, this could be very different. But what we're trying to do, or what I'm trying to do in this example, is just show you how around core updates, you're looking for the week after that update has been completed and a week before that update started so that you can compare. So we're gonna apply this, and now we get all these deltas so we can see the change that's happened for impressions, URLs, and the click-through rate. Let's also look at how our average position changed. So I dragged and dropped that there, and it put it up here. So I can drag it here. So these are my metrics that I'm looking at, and we're going to change the style. So instead of bars, let's just have numbers, because we're going to export this to look at it differently. And then we're going to show the absolute change. So rather than the percentage change, we want to see impressions were up by 148 impressions, or they were down by 227. We want to do that for each of these metrics. So we have 4 of them. I'm going to change it from heat map or bar to number. We want the absolute change. And this happily is number already, absolute change. And we could change the decimal, but we're just going to leave it there. Now, it's kind of messy. So we're going to right click and say, resize the columns to fit the data. And now we have a much nicer looking table. We can also text wrap our heading so that we can, this is text wrapping the body so we can see a little bit clearer those URLs, and we can text wrap our header. So now we have something that is a lot easier to look at and gives us a way to assess what is actually happening in our traffic. So the next thing I want to do is change how it's sorted. I want to sort this by not impressions, but my change in impressions. And sadly, that's not something I'm able to do in this graph or in this table, but LookerStudio has an export. So now that I have the information in this chart, I can export it to Sheets or CSV, whatever makes the most sense to me. So I've exported that, and I only did the top 20. If you want the top 100 in your setup where it shows rows, you're going to put your top 100, or I don't know if it will do an export 500, but you're going to change the number of rows that you're exporting. For the sake of running this tutorial, I'm going to keep what I have here. Now, each of these deltas, I'm just going to rename it so that I have a better idea of what each of those are. So they're not all labeled the exact same thing. Now I have my information in a spreadsheet, and I can start doing some sorts or even advanced sorts. I want to see which of these terms I've lost the most impressions on. So the query is Hootsuite. And I did write an article on how to better manage Hootsuite. So for some reason, my article is for this term in this kind of average position of 3.7. And I used to get clicks on this, so that's interesting, but it's kind of small. I don't really care. I'm losing impressions on an old article. So I might have a diagnosis column, and I'd call this content decay. This content isn't really relevant anymore, and this might tell me actually I need to remove that or write something different about Hootsuite. Creating a business account. So this is showing me before and after the upgrade. I lost only 3 impressions for that. So again, my website hasn't been impacted as negatively as other sites by those core updates. But what you're trying to do in your spreadsheet is then start diagnosing what's happening. Because if the clicks are really decreasing, and it's on impressions that you used to have, then you have some ranking loss. If you're losing in terms of your click-through rate, then that's a problem that is a bit more serious than rewrite the title tag. What that's suggesting is that the SERP, the search engine results page, is probably answering that question as an AI overview or in AI mode. So your visitors don't need to click anymore. And that's a behavioral change that you want to consider. If you have significant impression loss, then that can sometimes mean that Google is downgrading your content in the search engine results. And in that case, you want to seriously consider what has happened in that core upgrade. So there are a bunch of things once you export your data that you can do to better understand what's happening to your search impressions, your search clicks, and how you're performing in terms of click-through rate and average position. You can also use the Search Console report and add some other breakdowns, maybe by country or device. If you're seeing, for example, that your mobile search traffic is disappearing, maybe that is a technical issue on your site with how it performs on mobile. So these steps are a way to help you create a dashboard that allows you to then do some diagnosis on performance in search. I'm Minik from Boxcar Marketing, and I hope that walkthrough helped. Thanks, bye.